All right, hey everyone, these last two examples are going to be our percent proportion, so finding the whole when the numbers are kind of big or kind of crazy, maybe some decimals, things like that. So I've just got two more examples here that kind of use some different kinds of numbers. So this one says an international company has 28,600 employees in one country. If this represents 27.6% of the company's employees, how many employees does it have in total? And then it says round the answer to the nearest whole number. That's because we're talking about people. So we want a whole number of people. So first I'm going to break down my parts and my whole. So we're talking about total employees here. And it says an international company has 28,600 employees in one country. So I'm just going to say one country and all other countries. So I'm going to do the same thing in my percents box. So now I'm going to do the numbers part. So an international company has 28,600 employees in one country. So 28,600. If this represents 27.6, so 27.6%, and then I'm actually going to do 100 minus 27.6%. So I'll move this up a little bit. 100 minus 27.6. So 72.3%. So 72.3% in all other countries. Again, I'm calculating that because I never know what I'm going to need, and I know that percents are out of 100. So that's information that I can automatically find. The question I'm trying to answer is how many employees does it have in total? So I'm trying to find this total employees down here. So I know the first thing I'm going to highlight is my question mark. Unfortunately, with the whole, it doesn't tell you what else to highlight. Because remember, you have to highlight the same thing in the parts box and the percents box. In this one, I have to use the first set of information they gave me, this one country information. And when I set up my percent proportion, percent over 100 is equal to part over whole. I'm going to have 27.6 over 100. Again, the percent goes directly over 100. I don't need to change anything about it. Is equal to 28,600. And then I'm trying to find what goes in this box. And then to figure out what I'm multiplying by, I'm going to do 28,600 divided by 27.6. Divided by 27.6. So it came out as 1,023.231. Now what I'm going to talk about right now is how we get this rounded your answer to the nearest whole number. Now when I do this multiplication down here and I multiply by 100, I have to remember that it moves the decimal place 2 times. So when I want this to be rounded to the nearest whole number, I only want to go to 2 decimal places. So this value is going to round to 1,023.3 or 0.23. So I'm going to multiply by 1,023.23 because that's going to move this decimal 2 places to the right, and my answer is going to be a whole number at 102,323 people. So this is going to be 102,323 employees as my answer. So again, with those weird numbers, with those crazy decimals, I have to remember that when it says round to the nearest whole number, that means that I want that number to go to 2 decimal places. So when I multiply by 100, it ends as a nice whole number. Again, this is finding the whole. We're going to do one more example again with this weird, funky decimal percents, and it comes out strange. We're going to do another one here together. So this says a book sold 41,100 copies in its first month of release. Suppose this represents 9.9% of the number of copies sold to date. So I'm going to have the first month, and then all other months. And then it says how many copies have been sold to date. So I'm looking for the total copies. So now I'm going to put in my numbers. Again, I've got 41,100 sold in the first month. This is 9.9%. So the rest is going to be 90.1%. So 100 minus 9.9. And then the total copies is going to be my question mark, because I'm looking for how many copies have been sold to date. So that's the total number of copies. I'm going to highlight my question mark first. And then in this one, it's that first month of information that I know. And again, it's going to be percent over 100 equals part over whole for my percent proportion when I'm looking for the whole. So 9.9 over 100. Again, nothing changes about the percent. You just put it right over 100 equals 41,100. And then my number on the bottom. This says round your answer to the nearest whole number. So again, I'm going to go to the 2 decimal places, so that when I multiply by 100, those 2 decimal places are going to go away, and I'm left with this nice whole number, because we're talking about a whole number of books that have been sold. So when I'm looking for what I'm multiplying by, I'm going to do 41,100 divided by 9.9. And I get 4,151.515. And I wrote down that third decimal place because I am going to round this number to 4151.52. And when I move that decimal place 2 times, I get 415152. So that's going to be 415,152 copies. Okay, so this was just to show you a couple of examples of how this proportion can be used to find the whole when numbers are extremely big, when percents are kind of funky. Their percents are not always perfect. And when we have to round in a certain way. So this was just to give you a couple of examples of how that works.